She was just trying to fly like anyone else. But a cruel comment from a flight attendant shattered that moment, calling her too big to sit. It wasn't just about size. It was a humiliation rooted in something far deeper, something that still echoes in so many lives. What happened next wasn't just a personal fight. It became a battle that challenged power and prejudice on a massive scale. How did one woman turn humiliation into a powerful act of justice? Stay with me, because this story is about more than a seat on a plane. It's about standing up when the world tries to put you down. Before that day, she lived a life many would admire, a successful professional, confident and determined, always moving forward despite the obstacles she'd faced. Traveling was part of her routine, a chance to catch flights between meetings and family visits. She wasn't looking for trouble, just a seat on a plane like everyone else. But even in places meant for service and care, prejudice waits quietly, ready to strike when you least expect it. That day, something would change everything, not just for her, but for everyone watching. The humiliation was just the beginning. As she settled into her seat, a flicker of unease washed over her, but she brushed it aside. Then the flight attendant approached, eyes narrowing with judgment. Without warning, the words came, cold and cutting. "You're too big to sit here." The phrase hung in the air like a thunderclap, silencing nearby passengers and turning a routine flight into a nightmare. She could feel every stare piercing her skin, the weight of humiliation pressing down harder than the cramped airplane seat. But this wasn't just about physical size. It was about something far deeper, the way society scrutinizes and shames black bodies, controlling who belongs and who doesn't. She swallowed her shock, heart pounding, knowing that standing silent would only let the injustice continue. Summoning every ounce of strength, she refused to back down, demanding respect in a place meant to serve all passengers equally. What followed was a tense standoff, her voice steady but fierce against the flight attendant's dismissive sneers. The cabin grew quieter, the air thick with tension, as other passengers began to sense the gravity of the moment. Behind the scenes, a storm was brewing, a battle not just for a seat, but for dignity and justice. And then came the unexpected move, one call that would ripple far beyond this single flight, shaking the very foundations of power and privilege. But before that, she had to confront the raw, painful reality of being judged not for who she was, but for the color of her skin and the shape of her body. How far would she go to fight back? What would she risk to make them pay for their cruelty? The call was made. One phone call, simple, decisive, that changed everything. As she dialed, a storm of emotion surged through her. Anger at the insult, pride in her stand, and a burning need for justice. On the other end was the executive who held the fate of a $1 billion contract, the very deal that tied the airline to a giant corporation. Minutes felt like hours as the conversation unfolded. Her voice was calm but unwavering, each word carrying the weight of her experience, the injustice she had endured, and the demand that things change. The power dynamic flipped in that instant, the victim no longer powerless, but the one holding the strings. Behind the scenes, decisions were being made. The deal was canceled. A contract worth billions vanished with a single call, a clear message that discrimination and humiliation would not be tolerated. The shockwaves rippled far beyond the airline, sparking conversations and forcing people to confront uncomfortable truths. But even in victory, the cost was clear. The scars of humiliation ran deep. The fight wasn't just about money. It was about respect, dignity, and the courage to stand up when the world tries to tear you down. What happens when one person dares to challenge an empire? The answer lies in the next chapter of this story. The contract was gone, but the fight was far from over. She had won a battle, yes, but the deeper wounds remained. scars from a society that still judges black bodies harshly and without mercy. In that moment of victory, she became more than a passenger or a professional. She became a symbol of resistance, a voice demanding respect and equality. Her story isn't unique. It echoes the countless experiences of those who face discrimination every day, in airports, workplaces, and beyond. It's a reminder that racism and bias aren't just isolated incidents. They're woven into the fabric of our world, waiting to be challenged. What she showed us is the power of standing firm, of refusing to accept humiliation or injustice. But it also forces us to ask, how many others suffer in silence? How many more will be told they don't belong simply because of the color of their skin or the shape of their body? This isn't just her story. It's a call to action, to listen, to learn, and to fight against the prejudices that divide us. Because change begins with courage, and courage begins with a single voice daring to say, enough. What will you do the next time you witness injustice? Will you stay silent, or will you stand up?